a better Nigeria? Is it a myth or do we keep hoping?
Nigeria is a highly religious country. How come corruption thrives?
Why is adoption not encouraged in Nigeria?
Is there a future for the Nigerian youth?
Being rich and famous, is that the only drive to be an artist?
What makes a great nation? Is it the leaders? What about the people?
This is Answers with Dr. Reju. Hi, my name is Onari, and this is Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. We want to start up today by thanking our listeners for your comments and feedbacks and everything that you bring to our program. And we wonder, has anybody become more politically active? You know, over the past weeks we've been on governance and citizenship. So how is your political activism going on? And I wonder if anyone has taken a look at the suggested text that we put up on our website. Please go to the website www.answerswithdrreju.com and get all the recommended reading that you need to be a good citizen. Now, we'll continue on mentorship and leadership, and mentoring. That was where we left off last week. And we'll also look at recent trends in the polity. Obi, I don't know if you want to go from here. Yeah.
Because, 2 weeks ago, Dr. Reju, you are aware that something trended. And that was a conversation between a journalist, right, and our president. And she asked the question on inclusive leadership.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. And his comments or his answer generated a lot of controversy. Some people gave him flack for it and some people gave him kudos for it. First of all, let me just ask, what's your take on his response and all that?
His response or my take on the general...
Yeah, everything.
I am personally very excited, about the whole... kind of buzz that particular interview generated, because, that's really what we want to see, for citizens to get involved, but my take is getting involved now must have a direction. It must be well informed. It must, this has to be things that, such interviews gives us an opportunity to appraise our leader, to appraise those who are around him. Now, for me personally, I was shocked, right, that our president had to seek clarification on what inclusive governance means. And that was really troubling. That was really troubling. But as a leadership consultant, I will not put the whole blame on the president. What kind of preparation did the president have before going to that kind of interview? Because, leaders are not supposed to know everything. Any leader who believes that he has to know everything, you'll be under perpetual pressure. That's why it's actually leadership. It's a whole community. It's a cocktail of brains. Going to that kind of session, the president should have gone through like a coherence meeting, the way we call it here. They should have looked at likely questions that will come, and then it should have. So, there's a lot of background things that should have come, because that's a very common phrase, in leadership or governance circles. So, for me personally, for my president not to know that, I am thoroughly embarrassed, that he doesn't know what that is. And then you now take it to the response. Now, that's where we need to really confront our president. That, that there's a difference between politicking and governance. The moment you finish the politicking, the campaign, and you come into governance, you belong now to everybody. So for him to create a distinction between those who voted for him and those who didn't vote for him, that is going to favor those who, that was a political mistake. That's a terrible statement that should come from the president. And again, because we're talking about citizenship here, the way citizens responded also gave me a bit of concern that we still don't know how to hold our leaders, accountable. Maybe about 2-3 weeks ago, I said on this program that we have to let our leaders know now that campaign is over. But it's as if the leaders don't know and the citizens too don't know, because every time, the current president says something, we use the previous president as a standard to appraise him. Now, that's absolutely wrong. Goodluck Jonathan has done his bit and gone. Now, we should appraise the current President Buhari based on the requirements, the expectations of the office of a president, right? I mean, like somebody said, that it's not grammar we need, that we just want him to perform. No, grammar, communication is part of leadership. It's part of leadership. That's critical. You can't lead people if you don't have the ability to communicate. Now, if that comes up again, as we discussed in this program, because last week we spoke about ideology, we spoke about being able to, establish a philosophy of life. You see, those things are communicated in very articulate ways. So it's so necessary that we make the right demand on our president. Because in that same week, the president of Kenya came out and, really gave it to the president of America, and the way Uhuru Kenyatta articulated his point also trended. And people were trying to compare that. I say, well, Uhuru Kenyatta might have a different kind of background with Muhammad Buhari, but the fact is they are both presidents and there are global standards. There are 21st century expectations. Who is going to lead the citizens of this century must rank high. It must be top-notch, top draw in terms of communication, because this is technological age. This is communication age. So you can't just come and talk cheap. And people take it because they... And let me remind our citizens again, honestly, you don't queue behind government. If citizens support government blindly, you enjoy yourself. You shoot yourself in the foot. You have to perpetually put them under pressure. Somebody said we need to give him time. No, we don't have time to give. There is no time to give. Presidents shouldn't ask me for time. We want power as at yesterday. We want everything. We want smooth roads as at 1960.
Sound economy.
We want a sound economy before independence. So, and citizens honestly need to know that we have one president now. I need to reinforce that point, reiterate it. Please don't let us use the previous president to appraise this one.
So, what should we use to appraise good government? Is it the ones who favor our ethnic group, the ethnic group from which you come from, better? Or the ones that favor the religious group we come from better? Or the ones that favor our pockets, the economy better? I mean, what should we really use? I'm asking this question because whenever we go, to online newspapers and we see the commentaries on a news item, you can always...
By the names,
you can always
and
split the commentaries. Exactly, you can
numbers.
split the commentaries into ethnic considerations, into other more objective considerations, and then others into. So
one thing I would say, because to a large extent, this program we want to, it benefits all, but we really want a situation where we really speak to young ones, the one I would love to call the emerging leaders. If we don't look at what brought us to where we are, which I believe we all don't like, we will not be able to chart a way forward. One of the things that has actually affected this country negatively is the ethnic lens that we use to look at every issue. But we said something at the beginning of this whole program that the way the Yoruba man feels hunger, it's the same way the Igbo man feels hunger. If there's economic meltdown, it has one name. It's economic meltdown. That's not a Yoruba word. That's not a Hausa word. That's not an Igbo word. So maybe I should use this opportunity to challenge the young ones. Let's commit time, right, to a bit of study the history of this country. Honestly, it will give us a very good insight into where we are and how we need to chart a way forward. I also said something that the leaders that we've had in this country over the years, maybe it's something that's deliberate, maybe it's orchestrated, maybe it's just a happenstance, but I believe it's a bit deliberate. There has been a weakening of the citizenry so that we will not be able to say the thing that this program is challenging us to do the thing that this program is actually challenging us to do, which is keep the government accountable. We don't have the necessary resources in terms of information, in terms of the knowledge of history, in terms of even economic strength to be able to do that. So when you see citizens kowtow with government, it's worrisome. It's worrisome. Something that we need to confront in this country is the ethnic sentiments. Ethnic sentiments. Those who, actually play these cards, they don't really favor the ethnic groups. Look at it today. We have all the governors in our states are from those states. Are the states developing? At all. So we need to know that there is a whole, it's as if there's a whole grand plan to keep the citizens in a perpetual state of misery. And citizens need to rise up, against such a thing. We shouldn't allow people to play this ethnic game. It has only benefited a few. It has only benefited a few. They've done a lot of things to stem the tide. But I think we going forward, but we need to first of all look back. And I've been discussing with Obi about the book that I've been reading. Maybe in the course of this program, maybe we have the time to actually reflect on that. But honestly, put in simple terms, when the Yoruba man support the Yoruba man, the Hausa man support the Hausa man, the Igbo man support the Igbo man, it has not taken us anywhere. Why don't we change the game? Why don't we change strategies? Who says an Igbo man, will benefit the Igbo? Who said the Hausa man will benefit the Hausas? So it's not working. Why are we still fielding a team that doesn't win games?
I think there's been wounds and things in the past that people have not really healed from, and from what you said the last time about communication, it will really take, a good communication to be able to let these people come in now, know that, we need to come together and find a way to heal those old wounds, first of all. Dr. Redra, I don't know if it will take a lot, to come up and say, okay, let us just change from what we are now. It will take a lot.
Yeah. When you say wounds, some people don't even know what you're talking about. When you say wounds and things, that's why I'm saying that those who really want to make a difference, they really want to chart a new course, open a new page, in the Nigerian experience, please, I strongly counsel that please get books, and learn up. There are tons of books out there. In fact, we're posting more on our website. Go and read about the history of this country. You see, that's what I'm doing right now. There's something coming back to communication. I have listened to a lot of speeches. I've listened to some old videos about leaders like Tafawa Balewa, like Odumego Ojukwu, Awolowo. These guys were consummate communicators. They speak and they hold you spellbound. So, but we should be getting better. So if we have a situation today where we have a president that the foreign media will take to the cleaners, it breaks my heart personally. But like I said, a good leader will recognize not just the leadership within him, but the leadership around him. When you are able to pick on that, when you go out there, you are wonderful, you're pristine, you have your heads high, you'll be able to articulate your points properly. But that's why dictatorial tendencies, which we have seen in this country, because we have a history of military kind of, it's not working for us. So we need a totally, a reorientation. So communication is key, because the foundation of this country, those who fought for the independence of this country were great communicators. But what happened that there is this kind of schism? Why this disconnect? Could it be that it's deliberate, that we are not in the position? Because I'm reading the history of Nigeria, and honestly, some names that I read about in the 60s are still there. That to me is like, it's like a political abortion. That we're not given birth, to new minds. Okay.
Dr. Reggio. Yeah. I know we'll still come back to your reflections from this book, but I must just mention one of the reflections you gave you told me about was the fact that some of the guys who did wrong stuff were never tried, never, the law never caught up with them. Yeah. I guess we have had a long history of impunity, right? Where people in power just do what they want. And honestly, I must ask this question now. Right now, we have a situation in Jos. Maybe I may not be well schooled in it, but at least I read it on the papers yesterday that the present government has made a move regarding chairman and all that.
All right.
And that the court has stalled that move, right?
Yeah.
But he's going ahead with
already, nominated and sworn in new management committees.
You see, again, the place of history. There's a popular saying, if you don't learn from history, you are bound to repeat it. Impunity is part and parcel of us, right? Until we know how that is injurious, to our existence, we won't confront it. I just told you, I just finished a book, Oil, Military and Violence in Nigeria by one guy, Max Cilium or something like that. And, in that book, he said that those who planned the 1966 coup, there are two coups in 1966. I'm so excited that I'm talking about this. Nigerians can be, they can be very, very hungry to go and learn about where we were and how it has great implications to where we are today. That those who perpetrated the coup of 1966, January, and the counter coup of July, same 1966, nobody was tried. Even 10 years later in 1976, those who were tried, they had to enact a law which was backdated. So there was even no law, to try people who wants to rise up against the government, treason. There was even no law about it. So we've had, and then the years of military rule compounded that. But I believe it should have been something that would strengthen, because military should be noted for discipline, right? Because impunity is actually indiscipline. When you do something deserving of being punished and you are not punished, that's impunity. That's impunity. So we have that history. And the reason is because of, you're coming back to it, these ethnic considerations. That's my brother. I must not deal with him. I can't do that to my, to people of my tribe. But that's it. But you see, in a nation where you don't have absolute rule of the law, it's the other thing you have is anarchy. Now, when you have separation of powers, when a governor will outrightly, in a brazen manner, disregard the ruling of a court, and life continues. You see, the court shouldn't fight for itself, right? The governor shouldn't be allowed to do that. Whose responsibility? The citizens. But because the citizens have been polarized by the way politicians go about their trade, we don't know how, until we know how, when somebody drives on the wrong side of the road, until we know how that we might eventually affect us negatively, we will not fight it. We will not fight it. Because now you might be on the right side of this gross display of impunity. The time you come to the wrong side, then you will know. But you have to know that one day you might be on the wrong side. So that's when you fight for it. What is it that holds society together? When the law reigns. When the law doesn't reign, somebody will be hurt. Somebody will be hurt. Politicians are allowed to be selfish, right? But citizens must let them know that, no, on our part, you want to be selfish, we will not allow you to be selfish. The politicians will naturally want to be selfish, but citizens are there to also, bring a check. You should stand for the law of the land, regardless of who. The law of the land is sacrosanct. When there is no law, again, we are living in a stone age. It's a state of anarchy, right? And who knows tomorrow what the guy will just do regardless of the law. Yeah. That's the point. When you allow this to go, it can only happen again on a greater degree. But if you benefit from this, know it is going to affect you in front.
Okay. All right, let's take a moment here and take a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back. Welcome back to the program. This is Answers with Dr. Redu, where critical life issues are clarified. We'll continue with our questioning. Adams, let's have your question.
So, Dr. Reju, I like that you mentioned about, how we shouldn't take standards from the previous government. But we also see a trend where, our present leaders now, some of them, they take wrong cues from the previous government. Like, for instance, the one we have right now in Plateau State. The confidence for His Excellency to do whatever he did concerning the local government chairman was because...
Okay.
Yes, exactly. It happened in the previous government and nothing was done about it. And right now, you mentioned, just before we went for the break, you mentioned that the citizens are actually in that gap where if something is supposed to be done and it's not done, it's the citizens' responsibility. So how do the citizens come in? What role do they really play?
Again, we can't repeat this enough, that citizens shouldn't blindly, support governments, right? Because what's happening now is that whatever government wants to do in order to benefit them, they try to polarize the citizens, And citizens should always look at what should be. Because the way things are set in this case, the law, the supremacy of the law, what Governor Lalong just did, is it lawful? Right? But the moment we begin to address that or approach it in terms of who does it benefit or who doesn't, who is not being benefited, we begin to shoot ourselves in the foot. If that thing is not lawful, you see, citizens, like we said maybe about 2 weeks ago, it's not only seeking political office. Activism says that a group of people can come together and take him to court. You see, the strength of the court, the strength of the law actually lies in the people. It lies in the people. But sometimes because some groups of people who are a bit powerful, they benefit from that, or some very selfish kind of pursuits, maybe some ethnic, some religious, those are the kind of things that actually kills this country. Those ethnic and religious sentiments. Once you put that in front and you make the law secondary, we are shooting ourselves in the foot. If you get away with it, somebody who is, let me give you an example. I have a burden for the police in Nigeria. I wanted to be a policeman. I've often said that. But I look at it that we have a police force that is known all over the world to not be that effective. They take bribes. Now, if you drive without proper driver's license, or you flout a traffic law, and then you pay your way through the police, and you get away, you are happy. What you don't know is that somebody that might be coming to your house to kill you might also pay his way through that same police checkpoint, and he will have access to come and kill you. So citizens must on our own personal level, take response. When the law is supreme, you are secured. You are secured. Because if you allow the government to just do whatever they like, it will get to a point they do something that they like that's going to be injurious to you. So we cannot afford, if what he has done, setting aside whatsoever, and in Nigeria there's no continuity. Whatever the last government has done, we want to upturn it. We want to start our own. That again, it's a serious problem for us. So the citizens are the one responsible to make sure that the law remains supreme. So if some people are happy about this, what goes around, it comes around.
What should be our philosophy about the overarching ethnic, sentiment, the overarching ethnic narratives that clouds almost every political discussion in our country?
Yeah, again, that takes me back to, my current experience of learning from Nigeria, going into our history and things like that. I discovered that the leaders who are at the, the beginning of our national experience of nationhood, they were people of definite ideologies. definite ideologies. I remember there's a page in that book that I read, and the head of the military said something that, I actually asked for military, but I'm having some ideologists here. That is, even people who joined the military, they came there with definite, well-defined ideologies. There's something that they stand for, either right or wrong, depending on who is looking at it. So the first thing you want to make sure it's in place is, why do I want to get involved in political activism? What do I stand for? What's my purpose? Do you have a well-articulated vision? And you see, how articulate your vision is number one, who is the source of that vision? What has the person done? Because that's how ideologies are developed. What has the person done? What kind of clout? What stature does that person have? Because these guys need to know that I need to learn under somebody. Let me hone my skill. Let me be able to be able to say that, so that when I'm succeeding, I know. When I'm failing, I know. But if it's just to go into politics, that how something I listened to this morning, one senator, just came on floor of the Senate and used a very, a street term, forgotten something, a satanic collabo. I said, wow, where is that coming from? Because that's supposed to, they call that place a hallowed chamber, right? They are called distinguished senators, and that person will just come with that kind of, it doesn't matter what the person is, whether what the person is saying is right or wrong. But you see, if you are somebody with a definite ideology, the ideology defines your language.
But can I also ask, because in that book you mentioned that the guys who plotted that January 1966 coup, right? They were all from Sandhurst.
Yeah.
So apparently there was something that Sandhurst told them all.
Absolutely.
But majorly, there were a group of people, a company of soldiers who actually saw things from the same point of view.
Exactly.
Now, if somebody, what would you say about somebody who just goes to develop his own ideology and he's a man on an island? Or you want to sort of know what if there is a group of people who you say, I like their ideology, let me buy into it.
Exactly.
So that you can become part of something bigger than you.
The one you say is on an island doesn't have an ideology, he has a personal opinion.
Okay.
You see, ideology, it might start with an opinion. But when people begin to buy into, that's what makes it an ideology. When you can have a group of people who give that particular idea, fit to work. You see, that's what we don't have in Nigeria. That's why you see most of our political campaigns, they just play music, they dance, they abuse the other kind of, nothing of substance. You hear voices here and there. Why can't we have issue-based campaign? We can't have, because political parties don't have any well-crafted ideologies. But there are people there, right? And we are lending our voice to encourage such people who wants issue-based, there are some that are coming up now. I've seen a bit of consistency. I won't mention names here. There have been a bit of consistency in terms of how we need to cut down on government spending. Whatever topic comes, somebody who has a well-crafted ideology, we always take it there. If we don't cut down government spending, what you are saying is just a wild goose chase. So that ideology that has been crafted gives us consistency. People know what you stand for. In America, there are two political parties, the liberals and the conservatives. Once a liberal starts talking, he doesn't have to, you don't need to ask his idea. You can predict what the economic, the social, you can predict what the guy will do on immigration. You can predict what the guy will do with tax. But here we don't even know. Everybody is just blabbing. But we need to create a new generation who can actually begin, a political kind of pattern that's a total departure from what we have. Because what we have right now is taking us nowhere. So and that comes to the issue of ideologies are developing an atmosphere of mentoring, right? When there is somebody who has the idea and there are people who are willing to pick his brain and also, take that kind of idea to a whole new level. Contextualize it. Know that this thing you are saying because you live in Jos, if I take this to maybe Port Harcourt, I need to color it for it to work there. It's same ideology, but context. So it's a whole new kind of, is it what we are saying, every time I say that, people look at me, that it doesn't fly. The problems of Nigeria is so deep, we don't even know. It's going to take a long time for us to get out of it.
And before we get there, Dr. Redu, please keep reading the books that you're reading. And the listeners out there, let us keep reading, because we have to bring this country to where we want it to be. Thank you for listening. Dr. Redu, Obi Brown Adams, thank you for another episode. We'll continue on this topic next week. So give us a call or chat us on WhatsApp on 081-4456-9000. Check out our website and interact with us on www.answerswithdrredu.com. Like our Facebook page, Answers with Dr. Redu, or send us an email at answerswithdrredu@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are Dr. Redu Answers. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Answers with Dr. Redu, where you can get all our episodes. Join us again on Answers with Dr. Redu, where critical life issues are clarified.